So around 80.7% people gave the correct answer. So the correct answer was very objective of the program is achieved or the job is well done. Okay, the next question was write important steps to attain POs, and 93.1% people gave the correct answer. So it was to analyze the curriculum, then determine the gaps, design beyond curriculum, and then implementation with planned strategy. So that's the correct answer. And 93.1% people gave the correct answer. Okay, so the next question was, is it required to have PSOs for laboratory? And 63.4% people gave the correct answer. So the correct answer was yes, it is required to have PSOs for laboratory. So we'll move to the next question. Next is, do you have to map POs and PSOs with the project work? Do you have to map POs and PSOs with the project work? And the answer was yes. And 86.6% people gave the correct answer. So those who have marked it as no, so the answer is yes, you have to map the POs and PSOs with the project work also. I guess many of the participants from Malda are joining, so shall I repeat? I'll just quickly go ahead with the first question. So quickly, kindly make a note if you have answered the questions wrong. So the first question was, survey of faculty member is considered as, the answer was indirect assessment. Is attainment evaluation needed? The answer was yes. POs of NBA is called dash in Washington Accord. It was graduate attributes. So those who have answered it wrong, kindly please make a note of it. Attainment of POs indicates very objective of the program is achieved or the job is well done. Then it was write important steps to attain POs. And the answer was analyze the curriculum, then determine the gaps, then design beyond curriculum, and then implementation with planned strategy. So the next question was, is it required to have PSOs for laboratory? And the answer was yes. Okay, so I've discussed it till here only. So the seventh question was, do you have to map POs and PSOs with project work? The answer is yes, you have to map POs and PSOs with the project work. Impact analysis of industrial training required. So 97.1% people gave the correct answer. So yes, it is required. Next two questions were subjective. You had to write 3 direct and 3 indirect tools for assessment. So we have received around 204 responses for the same. Many different responses we have received. So many of the people have written class tests, Viva Voice, workshops, quiz, assignment, presentations, midterm quiz, anything different, class test, assignments. And mostly in the indirect, they have told about the feedback, results, publications, project work, patents, industry feedback, alumni feedback, student feedback, course evaluation, number of student hours spent on homework, percent of class time spent in active learning. So we have different answers as far as the 3 direct and 3 indirect tools for assessment is concerned. And the last question was to state the quality / relevance of the assessment tools. Again, many different answers. Alignment with program outcomes, validity and reliability. So we can see validity as one of the common answers. validity and reliability, data validation and reliability, mostly people reliability, validity and consistency. So these were the answers that you have given, and those who have answered it wrong, kindly please make a note of it. If Patnaik sir is available, sir, then we can. Balwinder sir is already here.
I'm there. I'm there.
Okay.
So, good morning and namaskar to all of you. So, you have gone through the questions and the answers. Kamal, percentage wise, like what is the total number of participants who have answered this quiz?
Sir, 204, and majority of them have given the correct answers. So we have good responses this time, around 90% and above. So the average marks that they have got out of 8 is 6.63. Because
who are the defaulter who have not answered? Is it possible to display them in the evening?
Sir, in the evening, it's a huge number, sir. I'll have to check one by one.
Tomorrow, let's display the defaulters.
Yes, sir.
Because if they are not serious, better not to be part of this type of course program where I am at least coordinating the program, okay?
No, sir, majority of them have done it, because out of 220, 230, not all are attending. So a majority of the responses we are getting.
Then it is good, because
yes.
This is having an intention to give them some input, so that is the way.
No,
so,
sir, those who are attending have done it, sir, out of.
Okay, that is great. Thank you, Kamal.
Welcome.
So, friend, we have a colleague, Dr. Balwinder Singh. He is a faculty of Electronics and Communication Engineering Department of NITER Chandigarh, but he has good experience of implementing the activities of NBA. In fact, in his previous organization, he was the NBA coordinator. When he shifted to NITER Chandigarh, this department also got accredited under his coordination. So therefore, he has a fair idea about various processes of NBA. He knows in a good way what is CO, POs, how the mappings are done. So I have requested him to go and come and discuss this particular thing, because today we will be going for the CO attainment, and once you understand the CO attainment, again we will touch the PO attainment. So that, because everything in NBA lies in these three criteria. Your criteria 1, POs, program educational objective. Criteria 2 is program curriculum and teaching learning, which is linked directly to the POCOs. So therefore, POCOs and PEOs, if you are understanding, rest of the criteria you will see that yesterday, tomorrow and day after tomorrow, it will be not that difficult, because certain things are formula based, which as engineer you know how to use complex formulas. So these are all simple formula, you can use it. So that's the way we think, that if we give a right kind of input on these first three criteria, then the objective of NBA almost is achieved. So that's the reason we are emphasizing more on that. One of the reasons why I kept all session in my hand, only I'm bringing in these two specialized people, because my experience in the past, though I am coming to this teaching again after 10 years, because all these 10 years I was in administration, but when I go for any talk and sit in some talk, I see when you bring an expert, again they will start from the beginning, what is NBA, how criteria. So the participants gets really frustrated. That Monday also we heard this, Tuesday also we are hearing this, and they will cover up their timing in such a that hardly 20-25 minutes will be left for touching the important aspect. So then finish it and run away from the session. So that's the reason, even though it is slightly pressurizing on me, standing throughout the day talking to you, so I thought, no, let's try this way. So Dr. Balwinder, actually he is a man basically from Antenna, and I am a fortunate guide for him. So he did his PhD under me also. So he is due for professor now. He is a senior associate professor of my institute. So hopefully he will satisfy your requirement today. So Balwinder, it is over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, respected Patnaik sir, very good morning, and good morning to all the participants who are present here in physical form or connected to online. Sir, am I audible?
Prabhati is also here. The director of the institute is also listening to you.
Good morning, sir. So, very happy to see you, sir. Thank you. So, dear participants, I am very lucky to have worked under Patnaik sir, and whatever I have learned due to sir's guidance only, and still I am learning under sir's guidance. So today, what I am sharing is what I have learned from Patnaik sir in different sessions, personally as well as in different activities. So, let me share my screen. Kamal, I think screen is visible.
Yes, sir, visible, sir.
Dear participants, outline for today's session is like this. So, introduction to assessment and evaluation. So, I have seen gone through the quiz questions, and I have seen the most of the part which I have included in this introduction section. So, already you are familiar with, and you have gone through the quiz also through that part. And then second part of my presentation will be today developing course outcome based question paper. So because theory question paper or the written exams are a major part of our assessment and evaluation method. So how to develop a CO based question paper, so that is second part. And then rubrics is another major assessment tool which is used for calculation of various assessment parameters. So that is the third part of the today's talk. And then as the fourth part is the actual case study of attainment calculation. So how CO attainment is calculated using various tools, and that case study I will be sharing. So let's begin with the first part. So assessment majorly refers to process of thinking and gathering data and information, and the main major underlying objective here is to basically ultimately calculate the CO attainment, and in turn basically assess what the students have learned. So whether they have attained the desired knowledge, skill, and other basically characteristics required as per our curriculum and as per our program of study. So assessment also gives us an idea to develop this understanding of student learning. So how they have learned. So what is the part where they are finding difficulties, and what is the part where they are very comfortable and where we can raise the level. And all these things we can come to know from the various assessment tools. So basically, it is a way of finding out what our students know and what they can do. So there are certain characteristics of the assessment that it should be credible, transparent, and fair. So only credible and transparent, fair assessment will give students an impression that what they are getting as the scores or feedback that is true, and they will consider that as a true feedback, and they will try to work upon the weaknesses which have been pointed out in the assessment, and they will also come to know their strengths. It should be part of developmental learning activity. So as the learning activities are going on, so the assessment which is going to be taken, maybe continuous assessment or at the end of the term assessment, so they should be kept in mind when it is the learning activities are planned. And it also contributes to the curriculum design, because ultimately all these things are interrelated. So when we are designing the curriculum, so if we are aware of the assessment tools and assessment methods, so then accordingly we will be including the various factors which are required for the quality teaching learning process. And assessment should be criterion reference. So generally when we are making assessment, so there are certain criterions related to the topic or the subject. So our assessment should be based on the features which are covered in the subject. So it should not be very vague type of parameter based. So what are various driving forces which are interested in assessment? So these are some of the stakeholders. So major stakeholders which are interested in the assessment and evaluation of the learners. So first of all, the major driving force is students, because the students, they are going through various learning programs or maybe BTech program, MTech programs or like that. So they are interested in to know whether how much they are able to grasp the subject. So basically students are major driving force. Then implies maybe teachers and even when the staff is involved in some teaching learning activities. So these are known as these are also interested in knowing the students' skills and knowledge. So they're interested in this assessment. So implies here administrators, then administrators of the institute in which the students are participating, and even the would-be administrators, like the students will be going to the various employments, so there will be administrators. So those administrators are also interested in the student results. So if the assessment is fair, if the assessment is credible, then they will basically believe those results, and they will take the students for their organizations. Various government authorities are also interested how the students are learning in various programs. So, government authorities are also interested in the student assessment and evaluation. Accreditation agencies, so as the STC is an accreditation agency, so we know that the how much part of the assessment is there in the SAR report, as well as how the accreditation agencies or the experts which come for the visit during the NBA. So they basically go through the assessment parameters and how the assessment is done. And faculty, of course, faculty is the another major driving force which is interested when they are giving their time, they're giving their inputs to the students in teaching. So they also want to know that how their efforts are perceived by the students. So these are some of the major driving forces which are interested in assessment. Then there is another term which is called evaluation. So there is difference between assessment and evaluation. So evaluation basically is the product of the assessment. So first we apply various assessment tools, we get data from the assessment tools and the assessment process, and then evaluation is the process that interprets the data accumulated through assessment, and it determines the extent to which POs or PEOs or POs or COs are being achieved. And based on these attainments, then various decisions and actions are taken to further strengthen our teaching learning process, so that the further PO/CO attainment is enhanced for the upcoming sessions. And if for some say POs or COs the target attainment is not achieved, then what should be the corrective action? So that is also part of the this evaluation process. So now, as we are referring to outcome-based education, so our assessment should also be outcome-based. So, and traditionally, what we were doing for assessment, so during teaching, certain inputs were provided, and some syllabus is there, and so according to that syllabus, some content is shared with the students, or it is given in the class. And on the basis of that, mainly the written exams are conducted in the traditional assessment. So teaching learning was considered as the end, and that was the basically main motive of the traditional approach. And in traditional approach, practice determines the outcome, but it is not there in the outcome-based education. So in outcome-based education, our assessment motive is so what our students are able to demonstrate. So we are interested in actual demonstrations of the skills and competencies of students after they learn through the program of study. teaching learning is not end, but these are the means to an end. So our end is to impart skills and competencies to the students. And what are the outcomes? So that basically determine what should be the teaching learning practice, what should be the other kinds of activities which should be performed in case of outcome based assessment. So we can say in traditional one size fits all type of approach is used, that we provide same type of say question paper. Mainly that question paper was the major assessment tool which was used. So one size fits all type of approach was used. But in outcome based assessment, our assessment tools are specific to learning outcomes. So depending on COs and POs, various assessment tools are designed and they are applied to get the relevant information or the relevant parameters from the students. And so the tools used in outcome based assessment are more relevant and appropriate. So under assessment, now we have direct assessment methods and indirect assessment methods. As already most of the participants during the quiz questions, they have answered it right. I was seeing that Kamal was showing the responses. So under direct assessment method, we say that these methods capture students' actual performance, which demonstrates that the specific learning has occurred. So again, direct assessment methods are a major part of the outcome-based assessment methods. So they basically provide a strong evidence of student learning, and the result provided by the direct assessment method are considered more reliable. And these direct assessment methods are specific to the COs and POs and the expected outcomes. So some of the direct assessment methods, these are listed on this slide. So already there was one question I have seen here in the quiz where you have listed various assessment methods. So university exams, that is again one of the major direct assessment method. But now I will be just showing that although this university exam is a kind of traditional approach, so in traditional our assessment also this semester or annual exams were there. But now when we are saying that we are going for outcome-based assessment, so the structure of university exam has to be some modification. So I will be showing that how to basically develop CO-based question paper, whether it is for class test or whether it is for semester or annual exam. So the university exam has to be CO-based or learning outcome-based question paper. Then there are course embedded tests which are conducted in the class. Assignments are there, projects, mini project, major project, or in some programs like MTech, so thesis work is there. Then grading with rubrics is also part of a direct assessment method. So if the rubrics is designed to grade the student activities, then if the activities which are say we want to evaluate say teamwork during the project execution, so that kind of things are also possible with the rubrics. So rubrics can be used for direct as well as indirect method, depending for which motive it has been designed. So employees and supervisors direct evaluation of the student performance. So here if the student is working in labs or it is working on a project, then the direct evaluation, the supervision results of the students is also part of direct assessment methods. So then there are indirect assessment methods. So basically these are used to capture students' attitude, perception or feeling about their learning. So here mainly indirect assessment methods, we can mainly conduct surveys. So it's about their perception or their input when they are asked some questions. So it is considered as less concrete evidence as compared to direct assessment methods, but it is used in conjunction with along with the direct assessment methods. It also provides data related to students, which can be very helpful in program improvements, because if say students are not finding some part or some activity which is as per their perception, so they can then give this feedback during these indirect assessment methods, and it can help in improving our teaching learning process, or we can come to know that what the students are feeling related to various questions which are being asked through the indirect assessment methods. In general, it is not considered as reliable as the direct assessment methods. So that's why when we calculate attainment, so around 20% weightage is given to the indirect assessment methods. So major part, around 80% weightage is given to the direct assessment methods. But it is also important because some parameters which we can cover in indirect assessment methods, so those are not possible in direct assessment methods. So various types of surveys like alumni survey, employer survey, student engagement survey, course exit survey, graduate exit survey, department survey. So different kinds of these surveys and analysis which are done. So they are part of the indirect assessment methods. So while developing an assessment technique, so what are various features which we should keep in mind? What are various characteristics of assessment technique? So this slide lists some points related to that. So the assessment technique basically depend on what we want to measure. So it is not that we can generalize that assessment technique should be like this. The features, but there are certain common features which are applicable to all assessment techniques, but majorly the type of technique depends on what we want to measure. Whatever is the assessment technique, it should provide valid and reliable results. So results provided by the assessment technique should be valid as well as reliable. So it should basically provide evidence of learning and evidence of various activities when they are assessed. And it should be efficient and cost effective. It should not be very lengthy or time consuming, or it should not be very costly. So that should also be considered while developing the assessment technique. And it should also engage students, faculty, and other stakeholders when we are developing assessment techniques. So because these stakeholders basically have to use the this assessment technique for various assessments, so they should be involved while selecting or developing the assessment technique. And when we are developing any assessment technique or assessment criteria, so we should keep in mind the COs or the POs for which we are designing that assessment technique. So there should be an direct alignment between the teaching learning process, teaching methods, COs and assessment criteria. So there should be proper correlation, and the correlation values we'll see that there can be strong, weak or medium correlation. So correlation makes the overall learning experience more transparent, meaningful. So we have to include various correlation weightages also while developing the various assessment techniques. Now let's move to the second part of the today's presentation. So with that basic background, so let's now move to developing a course outcome based question paper. So because question paper is a major part of the direct assessment method, so what should be the process or the features which we should include while developing course outcome based question paper? So why there is need of written tests? Because it is assessing the extent to which COs in cognitive domain have been achieved by the learner. So this requirement is there as part of assessment procedures. So in Bloom's taxonomy, we know that there are three levels: cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. So mainly written tests refer to the cognitive domain. So we need to find the extent to which these COs are obtained. Since assessment drive learning, so design of question paper need to go beyond mere test of memory recall, and there is need to test higher order abilities and skills also. So it is said that if the students are aware of the assessment techniques, then they will most of the students, they learn as to prepare for the basically assessments to get good assessment scores. So that's why it's said that assessment drives learning. So if assessment is effective, assessment is good, then the students will learn accordingly, and they will try to get good scores, and in turn our learning process will be improved. So the major here caution is that we should not have only the questions which may test the memory of the students, or they have to just write certain lines which they can just memorize and then they can reproduce. So although it's difficult to test higher order abilities and skills using the written test, but we should also keep in mind that in addition to written tests, so if we are not able to test higher order abilities and skills, then we should go for special type of assessment tools to measure higher order abilities and skills. But up to certain extent, we can have questions in the test, so which can refer to the maybe lower higher order abilities and skills. So there are different kinds of written tests which we conduct as part of our teaching learning process. Like class tests are there, mid-semester tests are there, end semester tests are there. So all these tests involve writing the questions which make the test. And here our focus in this during these slides is that how to align those questions with the COQ mapping or the COs of that particular subject. So COs, as you are already aware that when we say COs, we refer to the statements regarding what a learner is able to do at the end of the course of unit of instruction. So these COs are kept in mind while designing the question. So although this slide may not be required here because already you have gone through COPO. So these are certain examples of COs which are generally framed. But here an important part is that when we are writing questions for the written exam, so we should keep in mind the Bloom's taxonomy, that at what level we want to ask the question. And when the question has to be based on the CO, then we also need to check what is the level of CO and according to the Bloom's taxonomy. And our question should be as per that level if truly we want to test that CO. So here we have these 6 levels in the revised Bloom's taxonomy. So remembering, so this is called this is referred as level 1. So here the meaning of this particular level is can the learner recall or remember the information. So if we want to write a question at this level, so then this should be kept in mind. Understanding level refers to the ability can the learner explains ideas or concepts. Similarly, the third level, which is applying level, so this refers to the ability of the learner, can the learner use information in a new way. And fourth level is analyzing level. So this level refers to the learner ability about distinguishing between of the information or of the problem. And next level is can the learner justify a stand or decision. So this refers to this ability, and this is called evaluating level. And the last level, the highest level in the Bloom's taxonomy, is the creating. So this refers to the about creating the new product or point of view the available from the available material. So when we want questions related to different levels of this Bloom's taxonomy, so I have included some certain examples, so which may give us idea that how to write such questions which are related to one particular level. So, the level of the Bloom's taxonomy is denoted by various kinds of action verbs as listed here, like choose, define, find, label, list, match, name, recall, relate, select, show. So this list is not exhaustive, so just it is indicative, so you can add many more such action verbs which will be part of the this remembering level, the level 1 of the Bloom's taxonomy. Then there are certain examples of the questions of this level which can be included. So if we are interested in asking questions of this level 1, like define force, or state advantages and disadvantages of 4G over 3G, and say label the parts of Lake machine, two types of rotation, give the full form of LAN, WAN, write shear force, so identify switch from the given objects, enlist the chemical properties of the given material. So these are some of the examples of this level 1. So here you can see that what is the common characteristics of these questions is that the learner memory of previous material by recalling terms or basic concepts and answers. So here the major focus is on recalling information. Similarly, if we go to second level, so action verbs, indicative action verbs include classify, compare, contrast, explain, extend, infer, interpret, outline, relate, rephrase, show, summarize, translate, differentiate, and many more of such type. So again, the examples of the questions of this level include explain the concept of software, differentiate between digital and analog communication, differentiate between say the manual and automatic manufacturing processes, distinguish between teak and Silvan wood, give examples of an array, interpret the relationship between stress and strain from the given graphical representation, project population of India in 2020 on the basis of given data. So these are some of the examples. So the common feature of these various examples is that students demonstrate understanding of facts and ideas by organizing or comparing, interpreting or giving descriptions and stating main ideas of what they have learned. So it's called level 2. So then the earlier level, remembering level. Now third level is applying. So in this third level, applying verbs are apply, build, choose, develop, determine, identify, interview, calculate, model, organize, plan, select, solve, utilize, demonstrate, and such other action verbs. And examples here, the question when framed as per this third level, applying level. So these questions are having some more difficulty or complexity as compared to the earlier two levels. So first question we can see here is calculate the cost of carpeting the room, leaving 2 feet from each side given the length, breadth of the room and cost of carpeting per square foot. Or second question is calculate transmission losses in a given locality. So here you can see that they cannot directly just recall and write. So they have to get the answers depending on the question. Third is calculate the force exert on hand given the force exerted by hand on the wall. So fourth is determine tensile stress in a given